everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play PineHut Zoo. My name is Nissa and today we are back here in PineHut Zoo, and furthermore we are also back here in Santa's little corner of our zoo. As I talked about last week, this would be where we, for instance, have a Santa tree lighting ceremony in December, of course, but we would also have a space where kids can come and basically donate toys, not get toys, but donate it to help other kids who parents basically can't afford to give them anything for Christmas, and that way make this a kind of collaboration with some non-profits here in Denmark where I live. Furthermore, we would have one day a year closed for the common people and only open for people who are vulnerable in some way. For instance, kids with parents that don't make that many money, with the gifts here would be donated to, of course, but also other kind of people who need help in some way. This could also be like the homeless that got a day free in the zoo, or anyone who actually just needs something magical in their life. Therefore, also I want this to be the most magical corner of my zoo. At the same time, I also want it to be kind of magical in a realistic way, so I'm not gonna make it too fancy and shimmery and all of that. I'm more going for this realistic old kind of wooden theme. However, there's some part of the magic that we definitely need, and that is of course the reindeers and the cane. Sleigh. It's because it's called cane in Danish, but I know it's sleigh in English. If I say it wrong, I'm sorry. However, I know this sleigh took a long time to make, so if you don't want to watch that, you can skip ahead to 408. I also put it on the screen here so you can see what to skip ahead to, because this would only be the building the cane part. Oh, sorry, sleigh. And I'm gonna go very technical on this. I'm not gonna give you something you will miss. All I'm gonna talk about now will be in regards to this sleigh. So if you don't want to watch me build this entire thing, skip ahead to 1408. So I assume at this point people who are still watching this part are people who are interested in how I'm gonna build this game. I have seen after I built this, because I wanted this to be my own design, I went in on the workshop and see what other people done, and some people did amazing stuff, and I did assume that there would be amazing stuff in there. So if you don't want to build your king yourself, sleigh, you can definitely do that. I do build it in a very clunky way. We're actually only gonna use two props for the entire main cane, not sleigh, not the wood underneath, of course, is still a thing, but we're gonna build it up completely in these block pieces, and then we're gonna add some gold to it, which you will see a little bit later, where it will make it a little more flashy, to be honest. But first of all, I just want to build one side, because as soon as we actually build one side, we have something to work out from. Again, we can always copy it over to the other side if we want both sides to be the same, which I actually do. An issue I run into is that the rounded pieces are thinner than the others, so everywhere where we put a rounded piece, we can only make it match on one side, so you will see me go in a lot and redo that so it match on both sides of the wall. There is a lot of different ways I could have chosen to build this, but I chose to go for a strong, sturdy look because I wanted to be looking kind of realistic in the way that it could actually survive landing a rough landing, and at the same time I also wanted it to look like it was pretty but strong and sturdy, and at the same time realistic to build. So therefore I went in with these kind of hard shapes. I tried to soften out some of the shapes, but overall it will be hard shaped a lot of places, which I actually think personally fit in nicely. Here you can see the rounded pieces. I doubled them out so they are as thick as the wrist. Then I go in and make the front here, and I just use this all the way across, so therefore I match the sides. But the top of it I don't want to be the same as the sides, because I really wanted it to look more like we have the edges and the sides going up compared to the rest of it. So therefore I make this second shape down here that is a little bit different, but not that much, so it looks like it would be a natural progression of what we already did. Then I actually make a third version of this. I just gonna copy it over there. But then I made the third version that is even smaller than this to make it fit down here. Then I also did a little bit to make it round all the way here. Of course, I do feel like the edge here would be a little more softer in real life if I built this in real life. But because these shapes have this thickness and we can't really do anything about it, that's how I'm gonna leave it, basically. And at the same time, I'm not gonna make this locked off or something. We want the kids to be able to climb on it, take picture on it, and whatever they want to do on it. It's there to be used. Also why we wouldn't make it too pretty with a lot of fancy materials or anything like that. We want it to be sturdy again and look like something that can handle a lot. Again, I do believe that Santa once in a while need to break in newer reindeers, and therefore it would have to be able to survive a crash landing like that. Then we go in here and make the back, and I kind of do the same as I did in the front. So I choose the shape I want to keep from the side. That would be here the middle part and the bottom part, but I do that in what's it called, in smaller section, as you can see, to make sure that it evens out. And keep the exact shape I wanted it to keep here. Then we go inside of the cane and make a floor. This is the first time we're actually gonna change the color. I think I made it completely black, I'm not sure, but you're gonna see it here in a minute. Yeah, it would probably have been easier to build it without the snow, but again, we live in a Taiga Zoo, so it is realistic that we would have to build it at a snowy time. And here we change the color, you can see it's a black. Then I want to make the seating arrangement, and we go in very basically. I would like it, however, to be leather, all leather look-alike, not necessarily real leather. Again, we wanted to survive a lot of climbing kids. So we make this dark reddish brown color, and then we make the, what's it called, the thing you can lean back in up here. And then we actually just do the same again and again and again, where we're just gonna fix over here, but just copy it over again and again and again. So we make one big seat. I feel like that what Santa actually would have were one big seat going the entire way. And then back here we make space for the packages. However, or the gifts, I don't feel like we should have to put gifts in here. Again, we would have a lot of kids climbing around here, so I think because of the fact that that's what I'm going for, it would be safer to actually not have anything in here the kids could ruin. The insides here, you can see I make the color darker to make it appear like it's a different material. And then up here I actually work a little bit around because I want the back of this to be the red color, but the front of it to be this more leathery colors, like you have a tiny seat up here, or just something to support all of the baggages, or something in between that, sorry. In a minute I probably start cutting a bit in this, and that's because it took me more than 2 hours only to make this sleigh. So therefore I thought it was more important to do it in a manner where I show you what you need to see, but I'm not need to show you every single small thing, because you would get really bored really fast of that. And when I got this shape here, I just copy it over again. Again, as you can see, it's the same technique I use again and again, just to make these shapes I want. And then I make another dark colored here to make a seat up here. So you can see the seat back here is actually higher than the seat in front. Instead, it isn't made for as big people, where the seat here in front is for a very big person. Or a few very big persons, where back here there's not as much space for the legs, it's not as high, and we all know elves are normally quite small compared to Santa, so that would make a lot of sense. And I think it makes a funny storyline when the kids play around on it. Of course, we have it placed here where we always have a lot of stuff around, so if the kids choose to go in and ruin a lot of stuff, we will have an eye on it. But basically this can take a lot, the way I chose to build it. I could also have chosen to build it in another fashion, but this was what I went for. And again, if you build something like that, you can go for exactly what you want to go for. There's no rules here. Then I actually reuse this I already built here for the seat, but here I use it as a foot resting thing, along with actually shutting out for the little red piece down there. Then I went in and looked for a lot of stuff here, but basically I put these back where they were supposed to go. And then I went in and found this metal piece. I'm not sure what it's called, but I think I used a million of them. So basically I'm gonna do this, and I double it. As you can see here, they sit side by side, but I went in and doubled it so they're overlapping instead. You can see that here. I copied the sleigh over here to be able to do something I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So it's easier to copy pieces this way, because every time I do it, I can just go in and remove the things I don't need. For instance, here I've remove some of the wall to be able to easier pick out a few places. And here you can clearly see that I placed them overlapping, so therefore they have this different effect to it. Once again, if you do want to build all of this, you can definitely just go into the workshop and you can find a lot of different sleighs in there. It's just to give you an idea about what you can do. And here again, you can copy a lot of it over, because you use the same few shapes again and again. I also chose not to go all around the side, but only do it up here. You can see here the final how big it is, and I just remove everything in between here, and then I use Ctrl+X to move it back over where I want it. And now you can see here how it looks. Then I wanted to do the same here, but apparently when I push something backwards forwards here, something just didn't have the same shape anymore. So I just do it in pieces instead. So this piece fits, and then I went in with this piece. You can see here we have more space in here. And then I just copy a little piece to cover that piece there, because that's easier than going back and fixing all of it. And then there, and then we're finished, guys. That's the cane. Oh, sorry, sleigh. And that's how I chose to build it. Again, you can build it in a million different ways. However, we need something very important before we leave the cane here, or sorry, sleigh. And that's of course the reindeer. So I place 8 reindeers 2 by 2, but we also know that there is a 9th. So therefore one in the front here, and of course we're gonna go in and find this little light here and make a red nose. So, and I will go in later and remember to turn it on. I forgot to do that here, but I will do it. So even when you visit at day, you will see this beautiful nose light up. And yeah, it's just a small part of the story, but the more story you put into a zoo, the more magical it appears, if you ask me. And then I use these, and again I want, as I said before, I want kids to be able to climb this, but I just don't want the game to think that kids should walk through it. So this is only for the game. Was this a real life zoo, I would not put these up because I would want kids to climb it and play around on it. So this is only for the game to know that it's solid and people can't pass through it. Just gonna level out the sleigh a little bit there and place them down in the ground. So now they actually work exactly as they should, besides the fact that no one is going to climb them, sadly. So guys, I wanted to shape the what's it called, the path here, to make it fit inside, so you still feel like this is a part of the building and not just a different exhibit. Then I do these lights, and you won't see me place them all because basically I'm gonna remove them again and do something else, because even though they're beautiful and they fit in with the theme, basically living fire in a place designed for kids playing around just isn't that good of an idea. I also moved the path here 1/2 meter down here, so we have a little space in between the habitat and the path. So here you can see I fixed the nose and make it light so it looks like this instead, and that's just adds a tiny bit of magic. But we got our reindeers in here now, so while I build that, I will actually tell you a little bit about the reindeers. To do that, I went in on my favorite website at this point, and that's animalia.bio. Of course, link will be in the description as always. But the reindeer have a few known subspecies of reindeer, such as the boreal woodland caribou, which is again a reindeer, but it's called something else because it's in another language. We also have the porcupine caribou, again reindeer. Then we have the Svalbard reindeer, the barren ground caribou, prairie caribou, Finnish forest reindeer, mountain reindeer, Queen Charlotte Island caribou, and Arctic reindeer. Now, notice that I actually said known subspecies. And the known subspecies part is because, of course, if you ask me, it's very clearly that Santa have some kind of subspecies of reindeer that we are us normal people don't know about, since none of the known reindeers actually fly. So therefore, I think it's a legitimate thought that the reindeer Santa normally uses is a subspecies that we simply don't know. Again, Christmas is all about magic, and I will say that if you choose to believe in magic and Santa and all of these kind of things, that's a choice for you to make, and I make my choice, and I'm not gonna say what my choice is, but basically Christmas is about magic. So for the purpose of this video, please just believe for the next 10 minutes or so. Anyway, because it's fair to state that Santa have some reindeers of a subspecies that we at this part of the world just don't know about at this point. Maybe we'll figure it out in a few 100 years, or maybe never, or something in between that. But therefore, I can't really tell you about that specific subspecies, but I can tell you a lot about reindeers overall. So it's that I'm gonna focus on here. That's what I'm gonna tell you about. Reindeers are these bigger deers. I think most people can recognize that they are bigger. But they are these bigger deers that basically have this beautiful coat that they change through the year. So it seems like the reindeers we have in here currently have their winter coat, which is a more grayish color, but it is more brownish, more warm toned through the summer. This is for most reindeer, not necessarily all. However, they also have this lighter part on the chest and the belly, and that is no matter which coat they currently are wearing. Reindeers are one of the deer subspecies where actually both males and females have antlers. However, there is a few different rules for their antlers basically. The male antlers are much more complex. It is bigger. It have more nooks and crannies and more of these kind of going out to the side part. Very beautiful, much bigger. And they basically shed these antlers after breeding, which normally would be in October and November. Therefore, it will happen before Christmas. However, the female actually don't shed their antlers before the spring, which means that if you should be so lucky to actually see one of Santa's reindeer during the Christmas season, you can actually tell if it's a male or a female based on their antlers. And one magical thing that just isn't only Santa's reindeers but all reindeers out there is actually the fact that their hoofs change through the seasons. So in the summer, their hoof will basically expand and get a more spongy texture, which helps them to stand in the mountains or in the forest or where they are, so they get better grip on what they stand on. However, in the winter, the snow is a very different terrain to walk around in, and therefore the hoofs turns actually kind of if you think about the sponge, all of the water get out of the sponge and it becomes smaller, it becomes tighter, and it becomes harder. And at the same time, because it becomes smaller, it will expose the tip of the hoof more, which will help the reindeer cut into ice and snow and therefore get a much better grip during the colder season. The facial bone structure of the reindeer is also quite unique, since they have a nasal turbinate bones in the nose, which allow the nostrils to become much bigger, and therefore a lot of the air they breathe in through the nose actually get heated up inside of the nose before it gets dragged longer in and down in the lungs. Therefore, the cold air don't bear a threat to the lungs and heart and whatever else they have in there, since it is heated up a lot before it gets that far. Something I think a lot of people living in colder climates would love they were able to do. All of the known species of reindeer live in North America, Europe, and Asia, but basically mostly up north, of course. There are at this point no known reindeers living on the Arctics or subarctic for that matter at this point. However, as any Danish kids know, is that the Santa actually don't live in the North Pole. I know, a bit controversial here, but I grew up knowing that he didn't live on the North Pole. He lives in Greenland. And in Greenland or on Greenland, there's actually quite a few different reindeer species living up there, and they thrive, and there's a lot of them. So maybe this has something to do with why the Americans haven't found Santa yet. The reindeers actually also have a world record, since they are the one moving the most around every year compared to any other traveling animals on land. Important part, on land. This doesn't count for sea animals or bird, but on land no one moves around as much as the reindeers, and one of these reasons is of course that they need to find things to eat, but also the fact that they every year come back to the same calving grounds to give birth to the next generation. They have done this for thousands of years, and this actually is also why that some of the bigger groups can have an individual count over more than 10,000. This is a very durable animal that can do the most amazing things, and it isn't that weird that this is what Santa actually chose for his companion. However, some of these magical things about them is also why they are being hunted, both for their meat, fur, and their beautiful antlers, which are stupid since they leave their antlers once a year anyway, so why don't you just wait for that? But they also have other issues since the oil and mineral explorations in these areas where they live are very, very profitable a lot of the time. Therefore, their habitat can be destroyed, which isn't the biggest issue if it's just anywhere. But if it is on their calving grounds, then they may have issues finding a new place to get back to every year to give birth, since their genetic material actually reminds them that they have to go to this place that technically don't exist anymore. Luckily, this isn't the biggest issue at this point, since their numbers are still over 5 million individuals, and therefore there is still a lot of them. It is still possible that some subspecies, of course, are more vulnerable, more endangered, or critical endangered, or even extinct at this point. But overall, the reindeers as a whole is only listed as vulnerable, since there are so many of them out there. Anyway, enjoy the cinematics, and I will be back. Okay guys, it seems like we're here, and basically I know the reindeer were the animal I built for today, but I just don't think that was the most impressive thing I built today. I'm so proud of everything I built, both in part 1 and part 2 of this Christmassy Santa workshop donation corner of my zoo, and I really hope I made a good job, and I also really hope I actually inspired someone to go out and give a gift to someone who actually can't afford them themselves. I know it's pretty early for Christmas, but I am a Nisse and it's always Christmas for me. So you know the drill guys, like, subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye guys!